Hey everyone, my name is Perry, and welcome back to the Cassette Phase. So I hope that you're all having a good week so far. We had an interesting morning around here with some storms rolling through and knocking some power out and delaying school, and basically throwing us completely out of our routine. But hey, we adjust on the fly and just keep on moving, right? So I wanted to pop on here, no pun intended, for just a few minutes today to do a little show and tell. And to share some memories about soda in the 80s and the 90s. And if you've been here a little while, you know how I feel about vintage soda cans and soda bottles and packaging, and just food and beverage packaging overall from the 80s and the 90s. You know, these are common, everyday items that were just around as part of the background of our lives at the time. And they're just another component of the overall scenery that paints our memories. And I'm sure it's no surprise to any of you, but I like to revisit things like that from time to time and share them with you all when I can. Because thinking back to those simpler times, and I know that this will vary from person to person, but were you even allowed to have soda as a kid? You know, maybe just once in a while, like on the weekends or as a special treat. For us, we didn't really have access to soda when we were really young. It started more so when I was a little older, probably age 9 or 10, and I was able to ride my bike up to the local Circle K. And I'll never forget putting a bunch of change into a tube sock and wrapping that around the handle grip on my bike so that I could ride up to that convenience store to buy a soda, and maybe some Now and Laters or some Sixlets or even like some candy cigarettes. Or maybe it was the big, tall soda vending machine that sat outside of our local grocery store, where my friends and I would drop countless quarters, and then pop the top and sit right there on the curb outside that grocery store, and just talk about, baseball and Nintendo. So I've talked about some of these items before, but never really in this way. So what I'd like to do today is take my top 5, or my favorite 5, or my 5 most nostalgic vintage soda cans from my collection, and bring them over here to the Ottoman for a little show and tell and story time. And then I'd also like to do the same thing, but for 5 cans that I don't have in the collection. Just 5 cans that I would really love to track down one day. And of course, we'll take a look at some commercials, maybe hear a few jingles, and just do some good old reminiscing about these fun old products. Also, can't forget about the cassette of the day. So if that sounds like fun to you, come hang out. Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Ottoman, and welcome to the next installment of the cassette of the day. Today I want to briefly talk about a VHS tape from a mid-1980s movie that I love that stars Michael J. Fox. And no, it's probably not the movie that you're thinking of. But today we've got Teen Wolf. Now this is another one of those movies that I saw for the very first time at the infamous daycare center. Shout out to the School of Creative Play in Oklahoma City, who would sit us down in those uncomfortable plastic school chairs and show us movies like this. Ages ranging from 4 up to 12. And that was where I first saw this movie, and it definitely stuck with me. Lots of memorable scenes, lots of quotable lines. I remember that we were all cheering during the van surfing scene, so definitely sticks out. Now, this movie actually shares a lot of the same filming locations as Back to the Future. Obviously shot around the same time. Now, Teen Wolf was actually filmed before Back to the Future, even though it came out after. And I think I read that this movie was filmed during a production break on Family Ties because the mom on that show was having a baby at the time. But yeah, this is just a classic. Movies like this I feel like are just meant to be seen on VHS. With all that great old 80s scenery and soundtrack and fashion and all that stuff that we love so much. It's all here in the movie Teen Wolf. Anyone else have good memories of this one? All right, let's take a look at some soda cans. And I guess we'll do these in some kind of order. So starting with number 5, I guess, for my favorite vintage soda cans from the collection. We've got one from Barks Root Beer. Now, root beer was an interesting thing for me as a kid. I didn't like it at first. It kind of grew on me as I got older. But I just have such memories of Barks. You know, it felt kind of like, I don't know, I think it was the design of the can maybe. But it felt like you were getting something a little bit more classy than something like A&W, you know, or some of the other brands. I think it's the old-timey looking can. And this one's funny because you can tell how it was displayed like in a window, because this side is so much more faded than this side. I noticed that when I found this. I found this at an estate sale several years back. But yeah, just a really cool, sturdy, solid can. You can tell this is one of the thicker ones, I guess, you know, steel instead of aluminum. But what were you guys' thoughts on root beer? Did you do the thing where you went to the gas station and got an IBC? Remember IBC root beer that came in the bottles that looked like you were drinking a beer? You know, you could hang out with your dad and his friends and with your IBC root beer and pretend you were having a beer with the big kids, you know? So, all right, so coming in at number 4, we've got Slice.
We got the juice, we got a hit, we got the blast. Sprite and 7-Up mist. We got the juice, slice, slice.
And for the great taste of orange,
We got the juice, we got the juice, we got the blast. We got the taste,
mandarin orange
nobody else has. We got the juice,
in mandarin orange slice.
slice, slice.
Now, Slice was one that I never really, I don't know, I think I always preferred 7-Up and even Sprite to Slice, but I think the gimmick on this was that it had fruit juice in it, even if it was like a minimal quantity and quality. But just the look of that can, the design, just takes me back. Now, Slice is coming back. In fact, I think it is back. And I do fully plan on tracking down a few different cans of the new Slice and doing a review here on the channel. I think it's more like a healthy, you know, soda. You know, their comeback was more for like the health soda market, if that's a thing, if you know what I'm saying. But we'll see. I'm gonna see how it tastes, if I can track down some cans, and we'll do a review. But for this old thing, like I said, just love the design. They had some great commercials. And for some reason, I remember when you're a kid playing soccer and it was somebody's mom's turn to bring the refreshments for after the game, like the snacks and then the refreshments. I remember opening up one of those mom's coolers and grabbing out a slice after a soccer game. So for whatever reason, that stuck with me. But I do love the look of that old can. I'm looking forward to trying the new version of Slice. Okay, so what are we on now? Number 3? Yeah, that would make sense. Top 3, if nothing else, just for the classic 80s design of this version of the Cherry Coke can.
Cherry Coke, just out and outrageous.
Cherry Coca-Cola.
Check it out and find out. Taste is what it's all about. Outrageously smooth, outrageously light. Cherry makes it wild, Coca-Cola makes it right. New Cherry Coke, outrageous. New Cherry Coke,
Outrageous!
Tell me that is not a snapshot in time. Just love it. If they brought this, you know, version of the can back, I would buy cases of it. That one's actually got the, you know, someone pulled the tab and it's still in there. Kind of cool. But yeah, the commercials and the jingles come screaming back to mind when I look at this can design. And there were some other great can designs for Cherry Coke, which we'll talk about again here in a few minutes, but I think this one will always be my favorite. Now for number 2, you're probably going to think, why is that so high on your little list here? It's such a blah, kind of dull looking, bland looking can, but it's more so the memories associated with it. And that is cream soda, but Shasta cream soda. Now, did anyone else have Shasta where they were? I think this may have been a regional thing in the US. I'm not sure. But this was like a budget version, you know, the cheaper soda at the grocery store. Or if you found it in a vending machine, whereas a Coke or a Pepsi might be 35 cents or 50 cents, the Shasta was always a quarter. You know, so, but my memories of this are very clear, and they come from, and this was the first type of cream soda that I ever tasted. We were going on a field trip. I'm pretty sure it was 2nd grade. And you know how they require you to bring your lunch in a brown bag, and we'll store them on the bus, and then when it's time, we'll all go sit outside the field trip location and have a picnic. Well, when I opened my brown bag on that field trip, I had a can wrapped in foil, which had surprisingly kept it pretty cold for most of the day. But when I unwrapped that foil off of the can, it was Shasta cream soda. And I just remember sitting in the thick, cool grass in the shade of a tree with all my friends, just laughing and talking and having a good old time on a really nice sunny day. And that's the drink that I had. And that memory has stuck with me. So for that reason, that's why it's so high on the list. Coming in at number 2, we've got Shasta cream soda. And I guess if we're doing this in order, this would technically be number 1. And I guess that's fitting because it's probably my favorite soda can design. Maybe not ever, but definitely of the ones that I actually have in my collection. We've got another cherry version of a soda here. This time we've got Cherry 7-Up. And just tell me the look of that doesn't take you back to a very specific time and place. Great colors, great graphics. The drink itself, I could kind of take or leave. You know, it was okay. I expected it to taste like the Shirley Temple that you got in a restaurant, but, you know, I've talked to a few people, and that's apparently not what this was. It wasn't quite the same as a Shirley Temple with cherry floating in it that you get at, Bennigan's or TGI Fridays. But the drink aside, the can is just too cool. And they've gone through several different versions of the logo design. None of them are even close to this. This is another one. If anybody from 7-Up who makes their way to my small little channel here in my little corner of YouTube and watches this video, if you bring this can design back, I'll go buy cases of it. Just saying. Yeah, but seriously though, what do you guys think of that? Do you think that's a solid number 1 choice? And I know you don't know all of the cans that I have in my collection, but at least of the 5 that I showed you today, I think that's a respectable number 1. What do you think? And as promised, I'm going to quickly go through 5 other soda cans that I don't have in the collection, but I just love the look of them and would love to add them to the collection one day. So let's go through these fairly quickly here. The first one being Sunkissed. Specifically this orange can. You know, if I could find it with that sunburst on it, great. You know, but if not, there's a solid orange version that's also really cool and really nostalgic. Just makes me think of summertime, swimming pools, you know, running through sprinklers, all those types of things.
It's the start of the games. We will be taking names. Grab a piece of sand and your summer tans. You've got to go. It's a never-ending beat, and it's all within your reach. This is your chance to find romance. You've got to go. And we'll drink in the sun. Sun-kissed, sun-kissed. We will drink in the sun-kissed.
Next one. My second favorite version of the Cherry Coke can. Now this one is 90s. Just love the colors, love the design. Not quite as good as the 80s version, but pretty close. A close second for sure. And it's surprising to me that I've never come across one of those because that's not super long ago. I mean, this is trash essentially that's been disposed of, so they are hard to find, of course, but I just rarely see that version of the cherry Coke cans. If anyone knows anyone that has one that they'd be willing to sell me, let me know. Next up, now this is a little bit of an obscure one, and I don't know if this was regional or not, but we had knee-high soda where I grew up. And I feel like I had them more often in a bottle, like the little glass bottles with the styrofoam labels you could pull off. I remember getting like blue knee-high and peach knee-high in those types of bottles, but I also remember occasionally seeing them in cans. Love the look of that. That's 80s, I believe, and then this is 90s. I don't even know if this was, like I said, if this was everywhere. I know knee-high has been around a long time. I don't know if they're still around. They may be. But I know that they've got like glass bottles and stuff going way back. But I would specifically love to find either one of those cans someday. And then, of course, you can't be a 90s kid and have never tried Surge. And that's the original can. I know they've come out with a couple of different versions, you know, over the years, like the tall one and a little bit different logo. But I would love to track down an original version like I used to get out of the locker room vending machine after playing middle school basketball back in the 90s. And it's probably not coming over very clearly because it's a picture of a picture, you know, a video of a picture, but the colors were bright and vibrant and just very, very much early to mid 90s on that design. So love the Surge can, always looking for one. And then last but not least, kind of a grail item, a Crystal Pepsi can. Specifically this one here. There may have been a couple others later, but this is the one that I remember. And this is another one that I remember having in the bottle as well. You know, with like the clear label. That was really cool. But I tend to go for cans. I like the way they look on the shelf, and I would love to track down one of these one day. Just a great design. Not the best tasting drink in the world. It was okay. They had a lot of marketing around it. And I remember they pushed the heck out of this thing when it first came out. It was everywhere. And I think that, you know, they've even brought it back a couple of times since, but it won't ever be the same until they bring it back in that specific can. I don't know. But that's it. That's 5 more that I don't have, but that I wish that I had.
And there we are. So I hope that you all enjoyed this little look back at some of the soda products from our youth. And if you did, and if you're new around here, consider subscribing. We do show and tells like these pretty frequently here on this channel. But for now, and as always, relax, enjoy life, and be kind. We'll see you in the next one.